Hi, this is Jeremy Vine, and I am delighted to give Book Depository customers a little bit of a flavour of my book. And here it is. It's called The Diver and the Lover. And it's inspired by my visit, or actually it became many visits, to the Kelvingrove Gallery in Glasgow, where I just kind of bumped into this painting that I thought was just extraordinary. And the painting is called Christ of St. John of the Cross. It's by Salvador Dali, and it shows Christ on the cross in the most extraordinary perspective, based on a sketch by a 1500s monk called St. John of the Cross, who, in a blasphemous way at the time, sketched Christ from above, from overhead. So Dali takes that and turns it into an awesome painting. But what was interesting to me was when I looked at this painting, I saw this little plaque on the wall saying it was modelled by the famous Hollywood stuntman Russell Saunders. So we're talking 1951 here. And he was hung from a gantry in the ceiling of the artist's studio. And I just thought, what an incredible thing. This stuntman probably didn't know what he was getting into. What would have happened had the stuntman said, "I'm not doing this," and stormed out? And Salvador Dali had to find someone else. And the someone else he found was the waiter at the local hotel with whom my heroine is in love. That's kind of it. Let me just read the very first part, which actually is not in 1951, so that the prologue is in almost the present day, 2001, which is the year Russell Saunders himself died. So it's called You Had One Job. I'm reading my own book. I'm kind of nervous. He sat for a full hour, frozen. Each time his hand reached forward for the keys, Craig Maskell sniffed disconsolately and pulled it back again. 3 cups of tea had been brewed and drunk while he stared at the vacant screen. At one point he forcibly struck the letter G and held his finger down on it, watching a long G stretch before his eyes like a caterpillar. He jabbed the delete button and saw the caterpillar shrink to nothing. Frustrated and upset, he even found himself blinking back a tear. Maskell was not a man at ease with outward displays. The museum guard had always been a single man with no wife or wider family, and was a little jealous of those who had such things. He'd always seen emotion as self-harm, but now the grief and the guilt would not leave him alone. The Microsoft computer's clunky hard drive chattered away as if gossiping about him. You had one job, he thought. Since being sent home, he'd simply sat at this desk, hand hovering over the keyboard buttons, dreading the moment when the cursor blinked and the blank screen demanded the written explanation for his failure. The cat sidled up to his trouser leg and brushed against his calf muscle as if out of concern. "Food time, is it, Jagger?" Maskell grunted without looking down. "Let me just get this started first. Jesus, I have to get this started." His spectacles had slid to the end of his nose. He sighed loudly and wondered why he was bothering to write anything at all. Certainly they would blame him. He knew there would be, that phrase from old movies he watched as a child, a fall guy. He should have been aware that this kind of thing always ended with an inquiry. The inquiry would reveal just how many warnings there had been, how much he personally had ignored. For God's sake, in 2 months, she had made at least 30 visits. How many times had she been alone in the room with the painting? He should have turned down that bloody promotion in the spring. You had one job, he said under his breath, and began to type one-fingered. This statement has been written and signed on each page by Mr. Craig F. Maskell, Security Guard Senior at the Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum, Argyle Street, Glasgow, Scotland, about the outrage involving the painting Christ of St. John of the Cross. There we are. I would love you to read this book. The painting is extraordinary, and I've woven a story around it. To everyone involved with the Book Depository, I send you my best wishes. Thank you for supporting books and writers everywhere, and all the best.